Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Feminine Alchemy. Today is my solo cast. So if you don't want to listen to just me, then this is not the podcast for you. But today I am going to be sharing with you a few things that I have been keeping to myself that I have never shared before. We are going to be covering topics like my real thoughts about my travel, how I've been feeling about my pregnancy, how I'm even going to birth this baby. We'll be talking about some things that I've noticed over the year. And we're going to talk about sex. And the reason we decided to do this was because I will be on maternity leave early in 2026. And the gang decided to give me a chance to just tell all of you my secrets and give you my thoughts. This is a time for me to be able to talk about what I want to talk about. So I'm really excited to do this episode, and I hope that you are excited too, because I am about to spill the tea on my entire life, and that's a little vulnerable and scary for me. So here goes.
Welcome to the Feminine Alchemy podcast, where we explore the truth about the feminine, the peaceful, the wild, and the visceral. I'm your host, J.N. Behringer, joined by my co-hosts, Julie Dean Richards and Kaylee Rose. Each week, we explore the deep mysteries of the feminine and help listeners apply them to their daily lives in a practical way. Join us to unlock the hidden wisdoms your soul has been waiting for.
Let's start with travel. We'll go from easy topics to hard topics with this one, but let's start with what is it really like to travel with 3 kids in a 19-foot travel trailer attached to a minivan around the entire United States. What is that really like? The first thing I want to say is you can't live in 19 feet of space with 3 kids. You just can't. It is impossible to do that. So, of course, actually, people don't know this, but we started in a tent, and our tent was actually bigger than our travel trailer is, if you believe it or not. Our tent was 21 feet, and our travel trailer is only 19 feet of space. And also, our tent was wider than our travel trailer is. So we have had to learn how to adjust to that. But what that has done is it's pushed us outdoors, because you just can't possibly be with 3 little kids. My kids are 8, 6, and 3. And then I have my baby who's on the way. And so you just can't possibly do that, especially when you have 2 boys who are incredibly active. So we have had to learn to live outdoors, essentially. And it's had a profound effect on us. Stuff that I had never thought would happen has happened. If you've looked at my Instagram, you may have noticed my body has changed a ton, not just because of the pregnancy. While we have been doing this, my eyesight has improved, my digestion has improved, my ability to have more grace with my kids, that's improved. And, my skin, just so many things have changed. And so many things have changed for my kids as we have had to be outside. They've learned how to play with each other. They've learned how to entertain themselves. They've learned how to build forts and be in the dirt. And it's been really interesting to see how they change and how kids are so adaptable. But what happens when we stay in houses? Because what's really happening this year is that we're not always at campsites. We're not always at RV parks. Lots of times we visit people, and when you visit people, they want to spend time with you in their house. And most of the time they invite you to sleep in their house in a comfy bed when you spend time with them, because people cannot imagine that you want to sleep in your trailer, right? And, it's true. The mattresses are not the most comfortable in the trailer, and they're probably not meant for people to live on them and sleep on them as much as we do. So of course we accept and we spend time with them indoors. But when this happens, we have just noticed so much that changes with our kids, with ourselves. And these are things that are incredibly obvious, but I didn't realize how much living in a house affected us until we went on this journey. And before I go any further, I just want to say I'm not saying people should stop living in houses or anything bad about having a house or a couch or a TV or any of those things. All I'm trying to do is give you my perspective in a way that's so radically different than I thought it would be, and just what I have noticed this year since we are not living in a house. So, if you didn't know this, your house affects you a lot. We just have noticed when we visit friends, we spend a lot more time indoors, which is obvious. I used to kind of think those statistics that, people spend 99% of their times indoors was a little over the top, but it's really not. We spend almost our whole life indoors. Even if you go to work, like you're in the car for what? Even if you have an hour commute, you get out of your house, you're in the car for an hour, and then you're inside a building most of the time working, unless you have a job that is outdoors, like landscaping or something like that. But most of the time, we are inside 24/7. Even if we love the outdoors, like we've spent a lot of time with people who love the outdoors, but they spend most of their time indoors. And that's not because they're not trying to get outside. But man, it is so much harder to be outside when you have a house because one, you have lots of comfy things all around you. So you want to stay inside for that. It's much easier to cook inside your house. Most people don't have outdoor kitchens, so they're cooking inside, which takes up a lot of time. We also are spending a lot of time watching shows and on screens, especially in the evening when we're trying to let go. Maybe we put the kids to bed. We had a long day at work. We're inside watching those TV shows, and then we start our day all over again. And it makes sense. It's comfy, right? It's comfy. And the more you do something, the more you want to do it. So the more we sit, we want to sit. We've all had the experience where we're sitting, we're chatting, and somebody asks us to get up, whether that's like a child or a friend or whoever needs our help, and they ask us to stand up, and we're like, oh, I do not want to stand up. The inside of us just like groans, and we do everything that we can not to stand up, because the more you do something, the more you want to continue to do that thing. And when you have so much comfort, it's really easy to just stay where you're at and to be really sedentary. And it really woke me up to, I am so sedentary. Like we as humans will do whatever it takes to make ourselves as sedentary as possible. But I also started to notice as I was living this new lifestyle, I couldn't be as sedentary. Yes, we spend time in the car every few days driving from place to place, but we have to be up and about. We have to be setting up our trailer, taking it down. We have to clean things up. We have to spend most of our time outside because that's where our kids have to be, because when everyone is inside of our trailer, it is mass chaos. You cannot fit in there with all of us. We do spend time cooking in the trailer. We spend most of our time with the windows open to let real air and real light in. And I actually think that makes a bigger difference than we think. So as we have been visiting people and we're in their house, something that has happened to me over and over again is I will get sick as my body is trying to adapt to being in a house again. I slow down. I feel really nauseous. Something happens. And of course, people who have studied this or have had issues with mold before, or even if you're sensitive to EMFs or whatever, like sometimes people's houses just hurt you regardless. But since I'm away from all of those things, a majority of the time, when I experience them again, it's a lot harder on my body. It's like when you have been eating healthy and then you try something sugary and you're like, oh, that was hard. That was tough. And that's what it feels like for me when I'm in a house. Again, not trying to condemn houses. This has just been our real life experience. The other huge thing, and this is not just me, this is actually my husband as well. For him, it's his energy levels. His energy levels are vastly affected by how much time we spend inside of our house. The other reason it's so hard to get out is because it's so hard to pack your kids up and get in the car and go to the park. You don't want to leave the comfort of your home to go outside. And most people don't have big enough backyards or front yards to spend vast amount of time there. And we may have work obligations. So we just find that when we're with people and we're inside, it really affects our bodies, our energy, and our ability to take care of our kids. I am more sensitive than my husband about getting sick, but he will get really lethargic. My kids seem to bounce back and are pretty resilient, but the big thing that happens to them is all about the way that they play and their self-efficacy. And what I mean by that is when we're on the road, they learn how to play by themselves. They learn how to entertain themselves. They've learned how to be out in nature and find things to do and not get bored. The more time that we spend with people, when we leave, they get bored more easily. They want to watch TV because when we're in a house, it's a luxury to have TV. And so they want to watch TV with their friends when they're there. They like to play with their friends. And then when those friends are gone, it's like, oh, now my playmates are gone. I have nothing to do. I don't have this screen time. So I've got to learn all over again how to do things myself. And we see this every single time we stay with people, that kind of, they have to bounce back from that. And so if you struggle with your kids always being like, I'm so bored, or I want the TV, I would say, and I am quoting Jenny Urich, who is awesome. She created the 1,000 Hours Outside program, that movement. She has 2 books. One's called Homeschooling. The other one is called Until the Streetlights Come On. She has more books than that, but those 2 have been super helpful for us during this journey. And if you're having trouble, I would say outside time, even though it's so much harder in a house, outside time really is the cure for kids. If you're like, I am a struggling mom and I don't know what to do with my children all day, outdoor time is the answer, rain or shine. It has been for us, and our kids have learned so much, which leads me to my last point about staying with people. What we have learned is guest fatigue is a real thing. I'm sure as the person who's hosting, it's very difficult to have people at your house and you get fatigue from that, right? The host fatigue, it's a really real thing, but guest fatigue is also very real. And we have had that happen to us a lot, where we just feel like, oh, we cannot stay with people. We've stayed with too many people and we cannot stay with people anymore. Because when you stay with someone, you're automatically under their rules, you're under their roof, they do things differently than you. You have to keep an eye on your kids to make sure they don't break anything or break the rules. You have to be careful about what you say, depending on who you're with. It's just a whole thing to be a guest at somebody's house. And so many people have been so kind to us. They have reached out to us. They've allowed us to stay at their homes. People who listen to the podcast or follow me on Instagram, which has been so, so kind. And sometimes we just have to say no because it just gets to be too much. And not that sometimes it isn't a relief, because I think that's what everyone's perception is that, wow, it must be a relief to stay at someone's house rather than staying in your trailer. And sometimes yes, but actually I would say the big surprise about this is that we really like it. We really like staying in our trailer. I mean, for me, especially, what I enjoy the most is when we get what's called a hip camp, where we have the whole yard to ourselves and we have all that privacy. And I just enjoy having that and being in our own space. So that has been something we've learned about ourselves as well, is that guest fatigue is real and that we really appreciate people so much. It's not that we don't enjoy it. We love having fun with them, but sometimes it's really nice to be on your own as a family, because I think we've visited more people this year than we ever would usually in a year. So that has been a big lesson. And just to wrap up this section, we have been so grateful to go to so many amazing people. We have loved all the national parks that we've visited. We've loved the Grand Canyon. We have loved Glacier National Park. We've loved seeing Maine in the summer and going to all the beaches. We've definitely learned that we are beach people, and we are also forest and mountain people. We love all the different kinds, but we have loved being on the coastline during the fall time and the summertime in the north, and just enjoying New England was really lovely and so fun to be there. And it's just been such a treat to see how America is so different everywhere. We are like our own little countries. As much as we are one country, we have noticed that we are like little countries. Everywhere is different. We drove from New Orleans and we drove through Mobile, Alabama. And even though those places are actually quite close to each other, the feeling is incredibly different. The people are so different. The culture is so different. They're both the South. They're both quite close together. The topography is really not that different, but the feeling is so different. And we just talked about what it would be like if you lived in one place your whole life. If you lived in New Orleans your whole life, your perspective of the world would be completely different than if you lived in Mobile, Alabama your whole life. And so I think that's something to note that we have really noticed is there's every kind of person in this world. There's every kind of viewpoint in this world. And we really are not living in the same universe, if I'm honest. And there are threads that pull us together. There are commonalities between everybody. There are human instincts and things that draw us together. So it's given me so much grace for everybody and different viewpoints and how people feel and their perspectives, because we have seen it all. And, I would say the vast majority of people are really good people. And that's something I've been thinking about a lot. Everybody wants the same things and they have these deep seated desires. It's just been so beautiful visiting everybody. And just so you all know, this is not the first time that I've spent a lot of time traveling. I have slept on the dirt before in the poorest parts of the world. And I have spent the night in mansions and been friends with millionaires multiple times, spending time with them. And I can just say that there are connections between us and we are so different, living in different and parallel universes and also so the same. And this trip, this year has confirmed that over and over again. Just this, don't judge a book by its cover, and being able to open your heart can just be so expansive. So I will get off that soapbox now about my travels. All right, let's get to all the questions about how I'm going to birth this baby. That is one of the number one questions I get from people. Oh my gosh, you're traveling. What are you going to do? Where are you going to birth this baby? How is this baby going to come into being? How can you do that? Etc. So firstly, if people don't know this about me, and I don't care how controversial this is, people can hate me for this or not, but I am unabashedly a free birther, which means that I like to birth my babies unassisted if possible. And so, of course, I do think if you have an emergency or if there are signs that things are not going right, of course, you should go in and see a medical provider. I am not against emergency medicine. I am not against every doctor in the world. But for myself, I am very proud of being an unassisted birther. And what that means is I don't like to have medical staff at my births. It's not that I would be totally against having a traditional midwife there, but I have done enough births to know I've done every kind of birth. So I have birthed in the hospital environment. I have done a birth with a midwife, and I have done a birth unassisted. And we decided to do this one unassisted again because I've just gained so much trust in my body and knowledge. And people also know this about me. I've worked in medical research. Spend a lot of time researching things. And so for me, I spent a lot of time on this decision. This wasn't willy-nilly, but I have gotten to spend a lot of time getting to know my body and to know the signs of birth. And I have been privileged to be at many births. In fact, in my family, all of us home birth and many of us free birth. And we have the tradition of supporting each other at those births. So I've been able to catch my nephew, and I have been able to support my niece as she's been coming out of the womb and film so many beautiful births. So for me, this was the natural choice. And I know it's not for everybody. I have no judgment about how anybody wants to birth, where they want to birth, but this is the birth that I have wanted. And this time around, I would like to birth my baby outside. For me, that would be spectacular to be able to have the birth pool outside, to be able to connect with nature during this time and this experience. And we are planning to be somewhere warm. I'm not going to talk about exactly where we're planning to be, but we are currently looking for the exact right place to birth this baby. And there's lots of ways to do this. Like you could do this at a friend's home, or you can do it through something like a hip camp where you have lots of nature and privacy and space around you. I have known people who birth in Airbnbs. So there's lots of different places and spaces you can birth. my plan at this point, in the case that everything goes smoothly, things don't change, is to have our birth pool and to fill it up outside and to be able to have some nature. So we'll have a cover for the pool and things like that. We already have birth supplies because we've done this so much. We have a birth box that we pass around in my family. And so my sister is sending me the birth box. Actually, as we speak, I have my tinctures, I have my backups. We always review emergency safety, pieces like that. We will choose a place that's close enough to a hospital, all of those kinds of beautiful things. But it will be just me and my husband probably this time around. I have been craving being able to just go deep into myself and not worry about what other people think or other people looking at me. I think that's always kind of my problem when other people are there, is inevitably, like when you are the birthing party, everybody is watching you. And not that they're watching you badly. Like I have been the doula watcher, right? Like I have been the person who watches other people and they're, really supportive. But it's just about me and my personal weakness in worrying about what other people think. So for me, it's nice to not have anybody there, at least as long as possible, or just to have Moth with me. He's a great birth partner and I don't ever feel him judging me. And maybe that's because he's like, you know what you're doing. I don't. but it's just for my own sake, my own mind. I have been wanting to just be able to go deep, and we will have some friends be able to take care of our kids during this time. And hopefully we will have a beautiful and magical birth in a warm place outside and stay along with that. As far as how I'm feeling during my pregnancy, which is the other question that I get, man, baby number 4. I mean, women know this who birth multiple kids, but like you get bigger every single time you have a baby. And this baby, man, I have just been feeling myself stretch. And of course, I get this with every baby because I'm so short. There's no place for the baby to go except out. So everyone's always like, are you having twins? Oh, you're about to have that baby tomorrow. I'm like, actually, I got like 2 months left. And I often go over. My second was over a week past their quote unquote due date. And this last daughter was a 42 weeker. So 2 weeks over her quote unquote due date. So I do not expect any different. It might just take longer for this baby to come, but it has been stretching in a very literal way, just difficult and wanting to be as active as possible. And this lifestyle helps with that because inevitably you do have to be more active. But my goals are to tap into more of the exercise and allow myself to really get ready to position this baby properly and all of those beautiful things. And for people wondering, like, are you worried? Are you worried you won't be able to do it? Are you worried? I think because I have birthed without medication multiple times, I don't feel worried about it. I think I have come to peace with, even if not everything goes okay, it will be okay. And I think I really had to get there with my third baby. Because she just was taking, like, to me, I'm like, it felt forever. She was taking so long. And I had to just come to this point of, no matter what happens, it will be okay, because we're never guaranteed a perfect birth. We're never guaranteed a live baby. No matter where you birth, in the hospital, out of the hospital, with a midwife, without anybody, you're never guaranteed that something bad won't happen. And I think I've just come to peace with that no matter what, it will all be okay. And that we will figure it out. Like, yes, I would grieve egregiously if something happened, but I think I have learned how to trust my body more than that, and how to just trust in spirit more than that. I believe in a Heavenly Mother, to trust in her that she will guide me, that this is in my blood, this is in my DNA, that I'm part of the goddess and she's part of me, and this birth will be beautiful no matter what the outcome. And I think I've done a lot to prepare, and I continuously prepare, but at the end of the day, you have to be okay with your own mortality and with mortality in general. So I have learned how to be okay with mortality, which leads me to my third part of this solo cast, which are my thoughts that I have not felt like I could totally share yet, but here we go. So recently I have had the opportunity to be podcasting with and going on different shows with people who are very well connected, way more successful and well connected than I am. I have had the opportunity to go to events with people I truly admire, huge networks, and some of these events were legal events and health freedom events, and I'm very for informed consent. If you didn't catch on to that, that's really important to me and important to us on the podcast. So I do attend health freedom events. That used to be my life. My whole life as an attorney was focused on bodily autonomy. So I have had the opportunity to spend time with a lot of people in that space who are very big and to just watch them, get to know them. But I've also been getting to know a lot of people who are very well connected in the spiritual space. And I don't even know what to say. I guess expand my mind and not necessarily my thought processes or even my beliefs per se, but expanding what this podcast could be, what the future might look like. And I was with a friend who has had his podcast for, I don't know, like over 10 years. And he's really well known in this space. He knows everybody. He's connected to everyone. And he's always like, oh, you should be connected to these people, and super kind and makes introductions and things like that. But it's just a fascinating experience to be around people who feel it feels bigger than you. And I'll say this with the caveat that I am not a respecter of persons. I think that's actually one of my superpowers is I am not afraid to talk to anybody about anything. I don't care how famous somebody is. And I have been with friends and family at events where we have met really well-known or famous people, and I'm always the one who has to like calm everything down. I don't get starstruck, but I've been with many people who do, and I often have to like lead the conversation in those spaces. And so it takes a lot for me to be dazzled. But it was this feeling of smallness, just this very human feeling of feeling small. Not that I think that these people are necessarily better than me or out of my league, but just feeling my inner child, my inner insecurities, asking those questions of myself. Oh, man, maybe I'm not in this league. Maybe I'm not as cool as these people. Maybe my work isn't that special, maybe I'm not that special, and just feeling kind of small. These events happened very close together, like spending time with these people for like a month. I've been spending time with a lot of people who are very, very well known and connected. I mean, it always humanizes people for you. One of my very best friends, she has a big following, and people always ask me what it's like to be best friends with her, what it's like to spend so much time with her and talk, because I talk to her almost every single day. I have been with her many times when people recognize her and they're starstruck by her and they're just like, wow, I can't believe, this person. And it's been such a fun experience. And I have had like a tiny taste of every once in a while what that's like on the other end of, people recognizing me or being excited to talk to me, which is always just such a treat when that happens. But just seeing the very human side and understanding how exhausting it is to constantly have people wanting your attention. It really can be so draining. It can be both life-giving and draining. And it led me to think about this concept of feeling special. What is it like to feel special? And I was talking to one of my friends who is a representative in Congress, and she was like, I didn't used to understand it. Like I used to feel that I needed to be seen by these particular people who are really well known, and I didn't understand why they didn't answer me quick enough. But now that I'm in this position where everyone's wanting my attention, I am understanding more and more how difficult it is to continuously give. But even for her and any of these other people, even for them, there are times they still want to feel special. Even my best friend, who is very well known, there are times she wants to feel special. And I guess there's just something so innate about specialness and about wanting other people to see you. I think that's really what it comes down to. You want to be seen. We all desperately want to be seen, especially by people we admire and that we think are great. And we all want to feel big and not small, but we're also afraid of being big. And so it's this juxtaposition in our lives where we're so desperate to try to show our specialness and show our differentiation. And at the same time, straddle the line of not getting ourselves into trouble and not being too big, not being too much, and that these problems kind of coexist at the same time. And that there are times we just get asked to kind of up level ourselves and let go of some of those fears. At least for me, I think this has been calling to me to recognize those desires, right? Those desires, those fears, the fears about feeling so small, the fears about not being enough, the fears about also being too big or being annoying to these people. I thought about that so many times. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I'm not being annoying being with these people who, have so many better things to do than to hang out with me. But for some reason, I happen to be in this circle. And I think that vulnerability, that middle ground, that being able to realize both the small and the big of us is really important to this season. And I think it's calling to everybody right now that we are being called to recognize our specialness in different ways and to give that specialness to ourselves. And I think that's the biggest thing I wanted you to get out of this was that the only way that you will continue to be special or be recognized for your specialness is to recognize yourself for it, is to have that innate trust in yourself that you are enough and that it's okay if other people do what you do and that it's okay if you are similar in some ways as someone else, but that your personal craft is what makes you unique and that we all are one in a million in so many ways. Truly, this comes from, and not to like toot my own horn or to sound like I'm so great, but this is coming from someone who really is one in a million. Like I am legitimately the definition of one in a million. I am an attorney who is also an astrologer. How many of those exist? I am born on the 4th of July on a full moon. I am a reflector, less than 1% of society. My life path number is the 33, which is the rarest life path number. It's less than 1% of the population. I live nomadically. I'm a free birther. Just so many little things. Even my belief system, like straddling, being okay with everything is very unique. It's very one in a million. And I truly think that all of us are one in a million, but something that we forget when we get into these mindsets, when we're so afraid that we're not special enough, is that when you are one in a million, when you are the only one who does this or who does that, it is very lonely. It is very difficult. It is very isolating sometimes to be one in a million. And that's often how I have felt. Many things are just not built for me or for my family or for the way I want to live. And that can sometimes just be such a harrowing experience and difficult. And so, although I really truly believe we all have our own magic, you are what makes you special. Don't worry that other people do what you do. People are not out of your league. We're constantly learning and growing and running up the hill. I also think that we should be grateful that we're not always one in a million. We should be grateful for people we can connect to and community and the force that we have together. Just remembering that it's really going to come, all the validation you ever were seeking is really going to come from the inside of you. That's where it will be. And so I think it is possible to let go of this desperate desire to be special and instead replace that with a deep desire to love ourselves. And that is something I have been trying to learn over and over and over again on this journey this year is how the heck do you love and validate yourself and not allow outside sources to be your only source of validation. So if this has not been long enough, I will talk about just one or two more thoughts before closing this out about my personal journey this year and what I've been feeling. One thing is sometimes I feel very pulled back to the law. And I think this is coming up a lot because of that wound that I've expressed many times on the podcast about being responsible and respectable. And while I was touring and connecting with people, I was at an event and this man said, he just was like, "Oh, so you got a law degree and you didn't do anything with it." And I was like, "What?" Right? Part of me wanted to be like, "First of all, sir, I didn't just get a law degree. I'm an attorney. Okay. I have my license. I'm great." But I just said, "Oh, actually, I do, I use the legal knowledge every day for my family. I help educate people still, but in this season, it's not the right season for me." But comments like those, they reveal your shadow and they stick with you and they make you think about things. And for me, in this setting, it's incredibly difficult to explain to someone that, yes, I am an attorney and I love and have so much passion for the work that I was doing. And one day I got a call from the goddess herself, the call from a heavenly mother to teach her women, to remind women of the old ways and to help them tap into their innate femininity, goddesshood, destiny, priestesshood. Like, how do you explain that to somebody? A doctor of all persons. He's a very famous doctor and he was kind of rude, so I won't name names, but he just, I couldn't explain it to him. There's no way I could explain what I do to this man, and just feeling kind of in the middle of that lurch of, man, what am I doing? Right? Like, what am I doing? And who am I? Am I still this person? Do we still have this peace? Was it all for nothing? Not that I'm not still willing to do research and help my friends if they needed me. But sometimes I think the Capricorn moon in me, that earth, really misses the deep stability, the respectability, the responsibility, and the facade of being so respectable and responsible by having the title and of attorney and going to court and doing those things. It's on the outside so much more heroic, right? Kind of like doctors or other professions, we always look up to as like they're heroes. And instead, right now, being in this season of doing the quieter work, the deeper work, the work with my children, the work with the feminine, and doing things in a feminine way, and having to give away some of those masculine pieces right now, because this is the call. Not that it would never change, but the call right now is to help heal women by helping them tap back into their innate feminine identities and their priestesshood, their goddesshood. That doesn't always look glamorous on the outside. It doesn't always look heroic, and it often looks small and simple and like being present. And I think that's the juxtaposition, right? The feminine doesn't always look as powerful, even though she deeply is, but it's just the universe putting me to the test of like, okay, how committed are you to this path? And realizing in many ways that the work that I'm doing now is even more important than the work that I was doing as an attorney, and learning how to believe that, again, not trying to validate myself from the outside, but validating myself from the inside, which leads me to our last topic, which is sex. Of course, all of this leading to this one thing. Who knew this podcast could go so many places? But I think this is a really important topic. All right, buckle up, folks. So, a lot of you know, if you've been listening to the podcast for a long time, that I have had this fear around being sexy. And I didn't realize that was my fear. I think a lot of women don't realize that it's their fear. I think we innately long for beauty, whatever that means for you, whether that's being thinner, getting rid of acne, fixing your skin, or being taller, or whatever it is. We all long to be beautiful, but I actually think many of us, if not most of us, carry this wound around being sexy, being pretty and beautiful. And there is this piece of wanting to protect ourselves because we have seen that sometimes bad things happen to people who are pretty. Good things happen to people who are pretty too. But sometimes there are consequences that we don't want, and we fear that that comes from the way that we look. And I have been on this journey of loving my body and trying to figure out how to really care for it. And I've come quite a long way, but pregnancy, I think, always puts us to the test. I go back and forth, and I think this will be very relatable between being like, oh, it doesn't matter because I'm pregnant, so it doesn't matter how I look, and giving myself a pass and being like, oh, look at my cute belly, to, my gosh, I am a giant whale right now. Who could ever love me? Oh my goodness. But it's been interesting that during this pregnancy, I have been learning a lot about sex and intimacy and those pieces, because like many women, my drive often drops during pregnancy. And I have had several times that my drive never recovered from what it was before I had kids, and working through that in so many different ways, trying to find modalities, trying to figure out what is the secret. How do you do this? And I have been all over the spectrum with this. I have literally been to the point where I'm like, why do people even like sex? I don't understand it. It's so whatever to me. I've been all the way over there, and I've been on the other side too. I mean, most of this before I had children, right? But a voracious appetite and wanting to learn and to know all the things. And I think this journey for me, this interesting journey, has been learning so much about what it means to tap into your power through the portal of intimacy, and how important it is between you and your partner and what it can unlock for you. If we're going to have the drive conversation, obviously there's always physical things to address. Nutrition and exercise and all of those things can be really helpful for helping you get your drive back, all the way from herbs, all the way to pharmaceuticals, all over the spectrum, homeopathic remedies that can help you with drive. There's all those pieces. But actually, what has been helping me embrace my sexuality more and learn more about myself is learning how to implement the tools of my physical body. This is a really scary topic to jump into. And I would say for me, being able to learn and be in touch with my body, and I'm not just talking about vibrators, I'm talking about is the tools in your body, like the innate mechanisms in your body that can help you. And first, I was one of those people. My mom's a nurse. My dad loves to tell dirty jokes. Like, my parents were not shy about sex, and I felt like I had a really good foundation before we got married. We read books together about it. I knew a lot about my anatomy, so it's not necessarily that conversation, although if you have never delved into your anatomy, like, that is the hugest piece, especially as a woman, that you should do. But it was these other pieces about, what does it actually mean to go slow? What does it actually feel like in my body when I'm turned on? Like, what does that feel like for me? What does it feel like to be turned on in different kinds of ways, to open up my mind, noticing patterns about yourself, because so many times we're so unwilling. We often want to blame our partners, and sometimes there is an issue on both sides. But learning how to spot your own patterns. Do you have a communication block that you can't talk about it? Is there something that always turns you off? Is there something that is being done that you're just like, oh, I just let him do this because it's just the way we go and it's like this routine thing? Are you afraid or feel like you don't have time to understand your anatomy, or to try new things, or to understand or feel out what your erogenous zones might be, like what parts of your body maybe aren't seen as being so erogenous, like so turning you on, but maybe for you they are? Have you ever played or experimented? And I think those pieces, for me, understanding and recognizing my patterns, has been really helpful, and opening my mind to try to see sex as spiritual. I think people try to see it in that light, but most people fail at that. And I think for me, really taking the time to contemplate and ponder and pray and meditate on how to make it a very spiritual and sensual experience at the same time has been really helpful for me, and helpful for me embracing my body. And I have noticed the effect on my husband also. and inviting him to help me, inviting him to learn with me and be there with me on this journey. And I've noticed how it has changed his behavior, how him knowing a lot of the needs that I have deeply changed his behavior, but also him knowing this weakness that I have and understanding that sex can open a doorway. It can open so many pieces of your soul, and that it's just so important to recognize who you're sharing your soul with, and that it's can be this deeply powerful experience in every part of your life has been something that has been big for me, and it has been a huge journey this year. I feel like now I am in my third trimester. I am so giant, you guys. Like every day I get the twins comment. Every day someone asks me, am I about to pop? Every single day. And I have never felt more sexy in my life. I've never felt more connected in this way, having experiences. And I know the question on people's minds that they don't want to ask is, well, how, when you live in a trailer, how do you have intimacy with your husband? How does that work? And the truth is, really, you just wait for the kids to go to sleep. Then we sneak to each other's bed. And that's really most of the time how it goes. Sometimes we're lucky with having good friends who watch our kids, or we can be in different rooms from our kids when we stay at someone's house. But most of the time, that's really it. That's the trick. You wait for the kids to fall asleep. And even so, just being able to have this connection between the two of us. And you would think we spend all day together. Like we spend so much time together in this lifestyle. I am with my husband all the time. And I can say that like our relationship has never been better and deeper. We have been very blessed to have really worked and had a really great relationship. But I have seen how our intimacy has heightened our relationship in these ways, how it's bringing us together. And part of it was painful. There have been painful parts of this exploration. There has been painful parts of getting to know each other intimately and physically and working on sex together. It's not all hunky-dory all the time. It can be incredibly embarrassing to ask your partner for certain things, even though you've been together for a long time. It can be just so vulnerable in so many ways, like coming to realities about things, even preferences or the way a partner wants to do things, that's not your preference, right? Or being willing to do shadow work around your sex life and just being real about that can be incredibly tender, but it's a gift and it can have great dividends. And for me, I feel like it's ignited a power in our relationship, and that has allowed me to have more energy and to feel and tap into my innate beauty as a woman. And it's not because of him. It's not because my husband, although he's very great at what he does and he's very good at, telling me that I am beautiful, it's not coming from him. It's coming from tapping back into what all women have. And part of what we all have is our innate power and our sexuality. Maybe that's scary for you to hear, but it's true. Women have deeply innate power. There is power inside of you that is waiting to be unleashed via your sexuality. And that's not me trying to say you have to do anything that you are not comfortable with in your sex life to get there. You don't have to do anything. I think some people think when you get into learning about your sexuality, that automatically means you're going to become polyamorous, or you are going to have an affair, or you're going to be a porn addict, or you're going to do things that are not good, whatever you label not good as, and not true. Like none of those things have to be true for you to unlock your power. You don't have to have all of those things or any of those things to unlock the power of your orgasm, really, but the power of the sexuality inside of you. And guess what? It even works when you're pregnant, because it has worked really well for me. And it's just been a blessing to feel like I'm healing not just my wound, but my ancestors' wounds around this, and also my own wounds around beauty and for women in general. So there you go. There is the giant update, everybody. That's what I felt prompted to talk to you all about. Those are the things that were on my mind. And I guess as I go into this next period of my life where I'm going underground for a little bit to be and to birth and to bring life into the world. I think what I would like to leave you all with is just your beautiful, innate power and wisdom. You have so much power and so much more wisdom than you think. You only need the validation from you. Stop looking outside for the external validation. You can tap into your power in so many ways, with rhythms and working in tides and understanding your patterns and understanding the patterns of nature and the earth, and also through your sexuality. And I think that's hopefully what you've seen as we have covered this, that there is power for you all around. There are things waiting for you. They've been waiting for you. Your innate power is waiting. It's there. All you have to do is reach out and touch it. So I hope you enjoyed this ramble, and feel free to shoot me questions in my DMs. I am happy to chat with you on any of these topics. And I'm just grateful for all of you. I'm so grateful for the support. I'm so grateful for this podcast. I didn't know that this was going to be the thing that brought me the most joy in my career, but it truly has. And so thank you for being a part of it. And I will see you on the other side of my birth.